Hey everybody, welcome to the Comedypreneur Show. I'm James, and today I'm going to talk to you about something cool. I'm like a big comic book nerd fan, so I like to find a way to like cross over that kind of stuff for both comedy and comic books. So today I want to talk to you about 5 superpowers of stand-up comedians. All right, you ready? So becoming a stand-up comedian doesn't just mean being funny, right? It seems like you have to have other gifts, not just funny, and that's true. And so I really think that it's kind of cool um, that comedians do have powers. Like, I don't know if you've ever done stand up and someone's like, I could never do that. I'm so scared. How do you overcome this? And aren't you nervous or aren't you whatever? But we have, as comedians, we have superpowers, right? And they're not real superpowers. It's not like we don't have an adamantium skeleton or like, we can't fly or whatever. But we do have some like skills that could be considered superpowers. So I want to go over the 5 things that you think. And I know what you're thinking. I don't have any powers. This is BS. James, you're being a weirdo and you're just saying a bunch of random stuff. But I'm not. I promise you, okay? So let's start with 5 of them. There's going to be 5 things that I think all comedians have that are superpowers, okay? Number 1, mind reading. Stand-up comedian will spend a lot of time learning to read audiences, learning to understand. You can find out who's uncomfortable when you say certain things. Certain jokes may seem uncomfortable. You would know this before you go on stage, usually, but sometimes you get that crowd that tightens up when you say something. You're able to read their body language, their facial expressions, their gestures. So it's not really mind reading, but it is a form of that. You're processing what they're doing and you're figuring out how to feed that back to them, right? So just imagine when you go on a date, you kind of figure out, you're talking to somebody, their body language gives away, if your date's sitting with their arms crossed or they're sighing a lot or whatever, you know what to do. You're not really a mind reader, but you kind of know, you have that intuition. So it's going to come in handy. And then you can also use it in other situations. If you're a comedian, you probably use it to make contact with other people. If you ever do job interviews or any kinds of interviews or whatever, I use it when I talk to clients. And it just makes them feel more comfortable when you're funny, right? When you're funny, people really enjoy that. So that's one of them. The next one's going to be invincibility. And I know it's not real invincibility like you can get shot and you're not going to get hurt. It's really one of those things is just like things kind of bounce off you. You have to be strong enough to take criticism, to take people getting upset with you or yelling at you or heckling you or whatever. When you tell jokes, there's going to be times where people might get offended. Even jokes that are seemingly innocent, I've had people get upset about. It's just as long as you're being aware and you're letting it kind of roll off you, you're being invincible to hecklers and to haters and to all the people. You're essentially invincible because you can also use that to turn it around and make it another joke. That's a superpower itself right there. The next one is going to be super strength and durability. And this is because as a comedian, you learn to do longer sets, right? You get strong. Some people that are in big positions can only speak for 10 minutes. We had presidential elections and everything, and there were some times where you could just tell they were tired of talking, right? It's one of those things. Motivational speakers get tired of talking, but comedians, as long as they're getting laughs, they can go on and on and on. I mean, I know there's like records for comedians how long they've been, like hours or 13 hours or 18 hours on stage of just doing jokes. I mean, that's crazy. We have that durability, that strength. As long as we can get the laughs, we can stay up there forever. It's almost like a fuel, like it's feeding us to make us stronger and stronger. So think about that. As you get better at comedy, you're going to get stronger and stronger. You're going to have longer sets, and that's a superpower. The next one's going to be precognition. Now, I know what you think. You you fail as a comedy comedian. You start, and you kind of bomb and you don't do well. But you start to see the moments where your funny is. Like you'll find the little things that get the laughs. Like when you're starting out, at first you're like, oh, what's gonna make them laugh? What's gonna make them laugh? Even if you write the best jokes, sometimes it just doesn't work out. But slowly you start to learn as you bomb or as you have good sets and bad sets, you go back and forth what the flow is, and then you start to have more good sets and more good sets and more good sets and great good sets, and it keeps going up and up and up. And that's precognition because you figured out what it is that you need to say on stage to get the laughs. So your brain's working that way. You're getting better at it. Now, I know that's not really what it is. It's a skill. You're developing your comedic writing skill or your timing skill and all those other skills. But you're getting a glimpse into what your stand-up could be. And that's precognition. So that's why I call it that. The next one's going to be super intelligence. Comedians are some of the smartest people out there, right? You're not going to meet very many stupid comedians. Maybe gag comedians or prop comedians, but even then, a lot of times their stuff, like Carrot Top, is really smartly done, right? And you have to research a lot to get jokes, right? I write a lot of different kinds of jokes. Sometimes I write news jokes. You got to research news stories and then figure out what the funny punchline is. That's not the same thing as a real news story. Just stuff like that. And you want to give the best experience possible as a comedian. So you need to have something that's real with something that's fake. You're building two things together to make a great, funny joke that's going to get laughs every time. Comedians are usually also the most interesting people in the room. I know a lot of us are introverts. A lot of us kind of are wallflowers sometimes. But if you get a comedian talking and you get them on a roll, like if you get a comedian, they're talking, they're telling jokes, or they're saying funny things, whether they're jokes or not jokes, in a setting like that, they just go for it. And so they're super smart, and people are drawn to them, right? People are drawn to them because they're funny, they're smart, they have witty things to say, right? And it's so good. And a lot of times they're the best people to have a conversation with. They can hold a conversation longer than even some like Harvard professors or like, super intellectuals. Comedians are better because not only do they say smart stuff, they also say funny stuff. And then you put that together, that's more entertaining than talking to just a pure intellectual who has no sense of humor. So these are the 5 superpowers that I think all comedians have. Use those superpowers. Be a superstar on stage. Be a superhero on stage. I know you can. Think about it. We have mostly supervillains like the Joker or whatever, Harley Quinn, that are comedians, or the comedian from Watchmen. But be a superhero. Be that superhero on stage and embrace your powers and make people laugh. That's all you have to do. I hope this helps you out. Hope gets you fired up and wants you to get better at being a comedian. I know that it makes me happy. I know that I get, just excited about stuff like this. And thanks for letting me learn out a little bit, you guys. Please check out comedypreneur.com. There's a whole article on this about the 5 superpowers. So that's on there that you can read the whole thing so you don't have to just listen to me talk. Please like, subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Bye.